Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so thrilled to have on world-renowned photographer who also has a brand new book out, Jeff Fasano. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show.
Eric, thank you so much for having me.
You know what? It's like we
great.
know so many of the same people, but
Yeah.
I got to tell you, this new book, Americana Portrait Sessions, which I think everybody's going to need a copy of this, you got to feel great about this. I mean, being a photographer for so many years and then coming out with your first book through Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Right now, it's surreal. It's because this book has been in the works since 2019.
Wow.
And having it out now, to me, is still really surreal. Like, and looking through it, it's just surreal. That's the only the word that I can come up with. It's surreal. Like you look, I look through and I'm like, and here's the cool part. So we live in this age of we're looking at photos on computer screens.
Right.
And when I first got this, I'm looking through it, and I'm like, whoa. The reason why is because I have never seen 95% of these images printed.
That's crazy because they've always been in digital.
They're looking on a screen. I said 5% of that I've seen printed at one point or another, but seeing them printed is bringing back to the way when I first started.
Right, which I prefer. It's like I was telling you when we talked, you know, I think my favorite images in here are the black and white ones. And also that you do such an incredible job of catching the artists and the bands, like we were talking about Marty Stewart and Vince Gill and so many incredible, I mean, Keb Mo obviously on the front, you know, to where you capture them, the texture and the lighting. You have a very natural way of catching these images and then showcasing them. But you know, you had over 700 to choose from. How did you thin it down to like 200?
My buddy Merlin David, who is the publisher of M Music and Musicians magazine in LA, we got together.
Right.
And we started looking at these images, and he came up with the criteria that the image needs, think of the image hanging on a gallery wall by itself.
That is big thinking. Because, you know, the first thing I thought, you know, and you and I are friends on social media, and we've obviously met each other before at NAMM shows and everything else and concerts, to where that's what I thought. I thought, you know, I thought, what a great pairing to be able to have, you know, these images on walls, you know, in frames, and the book along with it, to where it's like, hey, you want to take it home? It's like we were talking about, like with the Frist.
Yeah.
You know, which I love going to the shows there here in Nashville. But, you know, it's such visual art that you've accomplished. And it's so interesting too, Jeff, that, you know, not only musicians, but I mean, obviously you've covered actors and actresses and sports stars and all this, but I prefer your musician ones.
Oh, cool.
Because it seems like you really have a feel for it.
So when I was working my corporate job.
Now we got to tell this story. Now you were a corporate guy for 40 years, but then at 33, you decided in New York to start chasing your passion, and your dad was like supportive.
Yeah. So I worked in the corporate world in New York City for 18 years. Suit and tie, behind a desk, and but went back to school to Parsons in 1988 to study photography.
Wow.
And I'll get emotional here with Mario Cabrera.
Right.
And the book's dedicated to Mario.
Yes, it is.
And he's my mentor, my teacher, and not so in photography, but he was a drill sergeant, and he pushed and pushed and pushed. And he's like a coach who sees an incredible amount of talent and wants to get it out of you.
Right.
And Cabrera was like that. And he just had a way of teaching you how to see light. Because photography is all about light.
Right.
And I tell young photographers today, doesn't matter if what you're shooting, what, you know, Photoshop system you have or anything like that. His first assignment We're sitting in class. His first assignment was, and we're all psyched. We got our cameras with it. He said, "I want you to go to Barnes & Noble or whatever bookstores were around that time and go see how Rembrandt painted light."
Wow, that's inspirational.
And we were bummed. It's like, what? So I went to Barnes & Noble on 22nd Street, on Fifth Avenue and 22nd Street, the big Barnes & Noble. Walked in there, got one of those big books of Rembrandt.
Love those.
It totally changed my world. It rocked my world. I'm looking at how Rembrandt painted light. And I went, holy crap, look at that, look at that. And so we went back, and to the next Friday we went back, and he just went around there, what do you think?
Right.
That is when I got what he was trying to do. Because I capture it. Rembrandt painted it.
Right.
And if you want to look at something that's extraordinary, go and look at how Rembrandt painted light. And that's where he started. He goes, this is about looking at what light does.
Which you were so good at.
Thank you.
In these photographs. I think that's what I enjoyed so much with each and every one of these. And like we were talking too, you cover so many different artists and bands, and so it's not just the A-listers. It's like, and certainly within the Americana, this is your first book, Jeff, but also it's the first book of its kind to represent Americana artists.
Yes, it is.
That's a big step.
Yes, it is.
Because,
Yes, it is.
you look at, you've been involved with the Americana Festival here in Nashville for years, and, they've gotten so much recognition. I mean, you look at the artists that are within this book and how they have progressed through the years.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's the whole thing. And put it this way, everybody in this book is an A-lister to me.
Totally.
So when you're in the Americana genre, even though I have, Judy Collins, Stephen Stills, Vince Gill, Sheryl Crow, I also have Sierra Farrell, Sierra Hull,
Right.
I've got Corb Lund, I've got all of these wonderful artists who I love, and I love all their music, and in the Americana world, they're A-listers.
Right, right.
But the whole world doesn't know about them. The mainstream
Exactly.
world doesn't know about them. And I have Courtney Marie Andrews in this book, who I absolutely love. So there's just a lot of Jason Eskridge.
Right.
Jason Eskridge, who's got one of the most beautiful voices that I have ever heard, is in this book.
Well, and that they open themselves up to you, and certainly, your images have been in Time, in Vogue, in Guitar Player, Guitar Aficionado. The list goes on and on. New York Times, LA, it's like you've had photographs in all of these publications, but also you have access. And how did you end up with Mary writing the foreword for this?
She's one of my best friends.
I mean,
Yeah, Mary, and if you read that forward, I've known Mary a long time, and she's one of my best friends. And I just said, hey, do you want to write the foreword to my book? And she goes, yeah. And we had, she lives on the west side of Nashville. I live on the west side of Nashville. I ran into her in the bank one day. And we're talking, and I said, hey, have you seen Bohemian Rhapsody yet? And she said, no. I go, you want to go? So Mary and I went to see Bohemian Rhapsody together. And at the end of the movie, we both walked out of there sobbing.
Wow, yeah, such a powerful movie.
And I get emotional right now thinking about it. And we looked at each other and hugged, and we got it. We got Freddie Mercury. We are that guy as artists.
Right.
And when you read the foreword, she references those moments, and as part of our friendship,
Right.
and the people in this amazing, all-inclusive genre of Americana.
Well, and I was kidding you when we got in here in studio too, Jeff, to where it's like, with this being your first book, with this being the first of its kind, with Americana artists, it's like, well, you've got to start working on your second book, but also you're planning a huge amount of book signings
Yeah.
and showings, and I certainly hope that you have, you know, full-size portraits of these.
We do.
With the artist to put up on the walls. I mean, what an immersive experience, and you're going to have a video also playing.
Yeah. So we're doing, which also got me very emotional. The Stax Museum in Memphis came to me and asked me if I wanted to do something with the book. And we're going to be doing a big exhibit down at Stax in Memphis with a big party, book signing, and they're going to be looping a video of me talking about that throughout the entire exhibit that will run for about 3 months.
That's incredible.
We'll be doing that in July.
Well, and I've got to bring up too, you know, as you and I were talking before we came in studio, to where it seems to me this book would certainly lends itself to do Country Music Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, you could go and do this in the Met or MoMA in New York.
Yeah. We're working on a lot of things, but we'll be doing something at the Glenn Campbell Museum.
And you have Ashley in here.
Ashley Campbell's in there,
Right.
taken backstage at the Opry. I was there with the Old Crow Medicine Show that night.
Love them.
Don Flements and Chuck Mead was there, and
I feel like you've been shooting at the Rock and Review, actually, because so many of the artists in your book have been on the show at one time or another.
no doubt, no doubt.
We know a lot of the same people. It's just
Yeah.
you take incredible photos of them that are
Thank
just
you.
etched in time.
That's one of the things Cabrera taught us. I began this journey studying with a photojournalist. So for me, I use one light. Just one light. That's all I need is one light, because I studied as a photojournalist. This is not about, when I'm shooting, it's not about me. It's not about me creating some sort of Annie Leibovitz-ish, David LaChapelle-ish thing that's all. To me, I'm capturing moments.
Right.
Which is what I learned, is what photojournalists do. You're a photojournalist, you have photojournalistic instincts. It's about knowing when the moment's gonna happen, before you know the moment's gonna happen. Wow. And you have this instinct. And Cabrera he was an AP photographer, and that's how I learned. It's be ready for the moments. So I might be setting up my light, here's the light over here, but I'm waiting for the moment to happen, and whatever that is. And if you've ever been on a photo shoot for me, I go, that's it, don't move. and they'll look, and then what I'm capturing is a moment that's not in my brain, that's in my heart.
Right.
I'm feeling
And that's art.
this moment with this artist who I'm shooting, and trying to go deeper within that. So yeah, and I've got my lights on, my light on wheels, and I move it around. But it's not. Thanks to Cabrera, I learned how to do that.
You're not positioning the artist. You're catching a moment in time.
Yeah,
Which is so different.
that's the whole idea.
Well, I got to ask you this then. Obviously, leaving the corporate world at 40, and now you're a few years older, 25 years down the road. Did you have any grasp when you left the corporate world to pursue your passion of photography that you would be here today with this book?
Are you nuts? I was just trying to make sure that dinner was on the table, that night.
Right.
No. I'll go back to the corporate world, and I'm working one day, and my friend Donna looks at me. She says, "What do you want to do with this photography?" And I said, "I want to shoot music." So for me, it's about finding what you love, not what you love doing. What fuels you? What do you love? I love music, like you love music.
Right.
We love music. Whatever that does for us. This world would be nothing without music. Everybody loves music. Find me a person who doesn't love music.
Right. Some form.
Some form of music, and what it does for them. And that's what I said to her. She goes, "My friend is a VP at RCA Records." And I went, Donna, and this is back in the day with no websites back.
Right.
I had my portfolio. I said, could I get my portfolio up there?
Yeah.
She goes, yeah, let me call her. So I went up, and she was the VP of Classical, and I dropped off my portfolio. 2 weeks later, they called me. I got a shoot with James Galway.
Wow.
And
then how many album covers has your artwork been on?
Oh, jeez. I don't know.
Lost count?
Oh yeah, I've got
a
them
good
all.
problem.
I've got them all in my closet in my house. I saved every single record cover that I was on, whether from vinyl to CDs.
Right.
I've got them all. And it's
so powerful.
And it's even just the little ones. Like even when I first started out, you know, when you get a CD and they put a piece of paper in there, I still have those.
Although I prefer the albums to where you had the pictures of the bands.
Right.
You had, you know, once again, it was art while you're listening to art.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you have the liner notes. One of my favorite people in the world is Joan Osborne, and
Which you have a picture of you two together in the back of the book.
Yeah. And Joan and I have done a bunch of things together. I've been shooting Joan since 2014, and then she's just become a great friend. But here's the cool part. I'll back up a little bit. One day someone asked me, I don't know who it was, who are the 3 women that you've never photographed that you always want to photograph? And I mentioned Joan Osborne because I remember coming in, and this is how much we love music. I was living in New York and on Staten Island at the time, and where I'm from, and I came in and I put on WNEW-FM, and I hear this song and this woman singing this song. And I had never heard anything like it.
Right.
And I stopped, I sat on my bed and I listened. It was Joan singing Right Hand Man, which to me is one of the all-time greatest rock and roll songs ever.
Right.
And I went, I have to meet this woman one day. So anyway, she asked me that question, and then I said, Joan Osborne, Sheryl Crow, and Drew Barrymore. And I still have yet to photograph Drew Barrymore.
2 out of 3.
So Drew, if you're out there and watching this, I will do it, and I'll give you a great rate.
Put it in the universe.
Yeah. So, and I wound up working with Joan, and then shooting Sheryl here for Guitar Aficionado magazine. But Joan and I did the Dylan record together, and the shot that's in there, when you open up the vinyl, that photograph is boom.
Wow.
In both pages, and that I was like, this is the way it used to be. When you know, when you're a kid and you come home and you get the record, before you even put the record on, it was like you're looking at everything, you're opening it up.
Have to.
Yeah. Or like all the old Yes records, and Pink Floyd, and so I chose that. That is why we chose that image.
Incredible.
To be exact, and the designer put it in the book exactly that way.
You're living the dream, Jeff.
I guess I am. Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure for our viewers, obviously, to get their own copy and signed by you, with your website, with social media, with obviously, you know, the stack show and everything else you're going to have going this year, and you know, further out, where do they need to go, you know, with your website and social media?
Well, to purchase this on my website, it's jefffasano.com. Instagram, it's at Jeff Fasano Photo. Facebook, just put in Jeff Fasano, you'll find me. I've got a couple of pages there. You can also get it through Vanderbilt University Press. They're the publishers of the book, and you can get the book. You can get the book through them as well, and at all your local bookstores. Go to Parnassus Books here in Nashville and ask them for the book.
I'll tell you what, you know, and Vandy did such a great job on this printing with the images. Just it's such a classy book. It's one of those things to where, you know, you want to go through it again and again, and leave it out on your table for other people to enjoy when they come and visit you. It's just great images, Jeff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
very much.
I also look forward to seeing the showing to where you're going to have these in framed, you know, larger scale photos as well besides the book.
Yeah, we're working on that. We've got a couple in the works. I'll be at the Blues Museum in May, doing an event, probably doing an exhibit there in January. The Roots Americana Folk Hall of Fame in Boston will be there at the end of September or early October. But if you're going to be in Nashville, folks, come to Americana Fest, because there's big things going on with this book at Americana Fest in September.
And they might be able to see you at work there too, kind of like City Winery.
Right. And
With your camera.
I'll be doing my portrait sessions there this
I want to
year
see the
again.
video with you. That's what I want to see. I'm going to come just to see the video and everything, you know, with you behind the scenes and, you know.
Oh, at
Stax?
At Stax. We've yet to put that together.
Yeah, it's coming though.
Yeah, we got to start
More
working on
great
that.
things. Well, I'll tell you what, it's an incredible book. Be sure and get your own copy, but you're going to need it signed by this guy. Americana Portrait Sessions by Jeff Fasano. Great book. Congratulations on all the success. I think you're going to have a lot more.
Thanks.
And you're living the dream.
Yeah. We're living the dream.
Be sure and get your own copy of the book and go get it signed by Jeff.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of a Bobby Bones Show.